So we've got 6 speakers lined up, all of whom are coming from diverse backgrounds and all over the world. In the first hour, we're going to be hearing from myself, just talking about who is the IDEAMAPS network, and then Federico Bale from Dymaxion Labs in Argentina, followed by Monica Kuffer from the Slum Map project in the Netherlands. Each of our speakers is going to have 10 minutes to briefly tell us about how they're approaching slum mapping, followed by more than 20 minutes of discussion and questions and answers with you, the audience. So we're really trying to focus on interaction in these webinar series. In the next hour, we'll follow a similar format. Joshua Mavidi, possibly joined by Kirsten Summer at UN Habitat, will be joining us from Kenya, followed by Nisera Kamani from Community Mappers in Kenya, and finally Abdur Alimi from Pakistan, followed by another discussion session. So this should be an exciting 2 hours. We are being recorded, so for those who can't stay with us the entire 2 hours, you'll be able to watch the video on our website soon. And to briefly orient you to why we're doing this series, what is the Integrated Deprived Area Mapping System Network? Well, we're trying to integrate existing silos to people who've been doing what might be called slum mapping. And we're using the term deprived areas, and the aim is to map deprivation on a scale from most to least deprived. This allows us to support multiple use cases so that it can be we can classify neighborhoods into slum, non-slum, but we can also think about other more categories to support other use cases. And this is all depending on an underlying data ecosystem that's alive and that facilitates fair exchanges of information and new opportunities for collaboration among the diverse stakeholders involved with the IDEAMAPS network. So I'll talk about that more briefly. There are 2 themes. Normally, all of our webinars will focus on this theme, exchange. Nisera, let's get you muted. Thank you. The theme of exchange is among many different stakeholders, the kind of stakeholders who are part of the IDEAMAPS network. And we want to know, how do you achieve exchange of data, exchange of knowledge, and exchange of trust in your relationships with other stakeholders to be able to achieve mapping slums, but also upgrading slums, dealing with the characteristics that define slums and other deprived areas. And then what information are you missing about deprivation that you might be able to get from another stakeholder in the network or create with another stakeholder in the network? And this is going to help us link these very different siloed approaches to mapping deprivation. The second theme for today is focused on the UN Habitat Urban October theme, and the theme for this month is housing for all. Housing is not just shelter, housing is also health. It is dignity for us as human beings. It's also our well-being and safety. Housing also means inclusion in our communities and the cities that we reside in. And COVID-19 has really underscored this problem, with more than 20% of the world's population lacking adequate housing to be able to do social distancing and basic hygiene practices that prevent the spread of COVID-19. And it's also put into relief the huge inequalities in our cities. So at a time when people are in urgent need of shelter, we also have millions of apartments and houses standing empty. And so our speakers are going to speak to these 2 themes today. Let me get you started with the IDEAMAPS network.